Zone Media.
Oh my goodness, welcome back to Behind the Bastards, the podcast about the very worst people in all of history, and we have a very special episode for you this week. We are talking about, finally, we're going to give the first two episodes of what will be a multi-part series about Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And to talk about this, obviously, the only guest we could bring on for this episode is a guy I think most people are aware of, one of the world's leading experts on Saudi Arabia, my former colleague at Cracked, David Bell. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, if anything, I'm going to be teaching you a thing or two.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. You lived for 47 years in Saudi Arabia. Which is
true.
Impressive because you're not that old. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's several years.
Yeah.
Several years more than I have existed.
Yeah, I think that's actually older than Mohammed bin Salman. Yeah. That's very good. So you're more qualified to talk about the country than the king of the country. Well, not the king. He's not actually the king. He's the crown prince, and he's going to be the king, and he's effectively ruling the country. But you know how it goes with these sort of royal families.
Of course I do. Like I said, expert.
Yeah, expert on Saudi Arabia. In addition to that, you and I lived together for a period of time in the late aughts.
We did.
We worked at Cracked magazine together. You are currently a writer and script polisher and finisher offer at Some More News and Even More News.
Yes.
And you also co-run the podcast network Gamefully Unemployed with our also fellow former roommate and colleague Tom Ryman, which hosts several of my favorite podcasts, including Fox Mulder's a Maniac and the new Himboos,
which is about supernatural.
Yes, it's your supernatural rewatch podcast.
Yeah, it's not even a rewatch. I've never seen Supernatural, so
it's just a watch for you. Yeah,
it's me discovering those beautiful, beautiful boys, the Winchesters.
And I didn't do it this year. I did a Big Lebowski costume for Halloween this year, but I think next year I am going to do a Fox Mulder costume, and I'm trying to pick between either just wearing the FBI like suit and having an empty holster, because as Fox Mulder, I have lost my gun before showing up at the party, or show up at the party with like 5 or 6 fake guns. And
leave them around
and give them to people, like accidentally drop them in people's laps. If I see someone dressed as a gondola player, maybe point it at them, all the Fox Mulder classics.
Anywhere you can leave it where kids can reach it is preferable. Yeah.
These are all classic Fox Mulder tactics.
I know. If Fox Mulder really existed, you would have done a 6-part series on him.
Well, yeah, because there would have been a congressional investigation into just the things that he did.
Yes.
Like multiple of them. Like the church committee would have had like a church committee over his fucking...
my favorite, not to deviate, but my favorite things, I've been rewatching the X-Files recently, because I'm always rewatching the X-Files.
Of course, as you are wont to do, yeah.
My favorite thing he's ever done, in my opinion, is they were at a crime scene where there's blood, and he wanted to prove that blood was fake, so he reaches down and he dabs it on his finger and he tastes it, and he goes, it's sugar. And it's like, that is just something you don't do. I know it's small, but I can't get over the idea of being at a crime scene, seeing blood and tasting it. That would stop everything. Like, that alone would be like, Mulder, go home.
What are you doing here?
You need to go to the doctor.
I don't care if he's an FBI agent. Like, a beat cop would kick you off the scene then. What? You just tasted the blood? Get out of there.
Yeah, even if it's fake blood, don't taste it. Don't taste it. It could be anything.
That's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
When I was at Oxford, they kept trying to show me like, here's where Tolkien worked. Here's where C.S. Lewis wrote. And I was like, where was Fox Mulder's dorm when he was canonically at Oxford?
Yes, and he had sex on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's grave.
And they were all like 20, and they were like, who? Is that a graduate of Oxford? And I'm like, God damn it.
Those young bastards.
You fucking children.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis-Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Wasn't that delicious? So good.
Your bill, ladies?
I got it. No,
I got it.
Seriously, I insist. I insisted first. Oh, don't be silly. You don't be silly.
People with the Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card prefer to pay because they earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors for it. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. No!
The Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card. Visit wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
You know who else is a young bastard?
Who?
Mohammed bin
Us?
Salman,
No.
the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. Well, us too, but yes. So you've probably, the listener, obviously, Dave, again, as I stated, you're an expert on Saudi Arabia, internationally recognized.
That's
but
correct.
for the listeners who know less, Mohammed bin Salman is the crown prince and the current effective ruler of Saudi Arabia. His dad is the king, but he's not like super on the job right now. Like most people tend to agree that his son is kind of the power behind the throne. The thing you will probably know him best for, if you were a casual reader of news in Saudi Arabia, is that he's the guy who had that journalist bone sawed, Jamal Khashoggi, from the Washington Post, almost certainly ordered a team of people to have him killed and sawed up with the bone saw in Turkey. He's that guy. And MBS, as he's generally called, is one of the most dangerous and in some ways competent like bastards in the world today. He's a world leader who has been generally very successful in pushing his specific ideology and his specific plans. He's been running into increasing issues as he's gotten more power and as he's accumulated more power and as he's spent more time at the top. But you know, it's kind of one of those things where his overall level of success has been pretty great. So you have to credit him as being extremely competent, at least kind of within his broad remit, right? He has put his fingers on the scale to push anti-democratic policies around the globe, using his influence and the amount of money that the Saudis have through their oil wealth. And at home, he has mixed a series of dizzying reforms with unprecedented authoritarian crackdowns, often against members of his own family. Now, before we discuss how he got to where he is today and what he's done with his time in power, we need to talk about the origins of his family, the House of Saud. As you might guess, the country of Saudi Arabia takes its name from the Saud family line, which has its origins in the 18th century, in a small town on the Arabian Peninsula named Diriyah. In the mid-1700s, there was a religious leader in that town named Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab in the Arabian state of Najd, who began preaching about the need to return to a pure form of Islam. He was angry at what he saw as the decadence and many moral compromises of the Ottoman Caliph, who had allowed such evils as relatively open socialization between unmarried men and women to work in the world, right? Like ladies were getting jobs in the Ottoman Empire, right? Particularly in the capital. Yeah, he was really unhappy about that. Like, women are making money? No. He was also unhappy about a lot of art in the Ottoman world that depicted the human form, which you're not really supposed to do under the strictest interpretations of Islam. And he was unhappy about music. You're not supposed to have music, right? There's certain kinds of what we would call music that just involves like harmonizing voices that are allowed, but you're not supposed to have like instruments, right?
Really?
These are all things that under the strictest interpretations of Islam, right? Again, most Muslims that I have known, and most places in the Muslim world, you're going to encounter music, but not in the strict parts, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's every religion, right? Is like the strictest parts are always ridiculous, and most people, even if they subscribe to that religion, are going through and they're just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Like, we'll have music, it's fine. Like
you can run into like people who are like American Christian anti-Muslim folks who will be like, well, you know, if they're actually following their religion, they're not supposed to do this and this and this. And it's like, well, if you were following the letter of the Bible, there's a lot of shit you shouldn't be doing that you're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like it's all kind of part of the same thing, whether it be like these people or, I don't know, the Heritage Foundation, where it's like, yeah, they're all the same kind of maniac.
You could see Wahhab as sort of like a Heritage Foundation maniac of his time, where he's like very minor compromises had been made with the hardest line version of the faith in order to like exist in the increasingly modern world. And Wahhab was like, fuck that shit. Like, we need to go back, right? Like we have to return. You know, he's really one of those guys. There's a lot of debate, and I am not a scholar of Islam, on how theologically sound Wahhab's arguments are, right? And this is not a podcast. That doesn't matter for our purposes today. What matters is that he had a lot of supporters, and one of these supporters was his local emir, a guy named Mohammed ibn Saud, who is the kind of founder. He's obviously not the first member of the House of Saud, but he is the guy who is generally seen as the founder of like the House of Saud as a modern political dynasty, right? And Mohammed ibn Saud seems to have seen Wahhab as a useful tool for building a base of support. Saud was an ambitious man. The Arabia of his day was a scantily populated backwater, with nomadic tribes who were constantly at each other's throats and too busy fighting to build a credible state. In 1744, Wahhab, again, this guy is basically the leader of a militant extremist religious movement of his day. He leads like a mob to destroy the tomb of one of the Prophet Muhammad's companions, framing it as an attack on idolatry, right? If you've got a tomb that is like a venerated spot, that's worshiping an idol, right? And you're not supposed to do that under the strictest interpretations of the religion. You know, like that's kind of his argument, is that people were worshiping the tomb as opposed to like, you're only supposed to worship God.
The tomb is the place where his body is, though, right?
Right. Yes.
Like, that just seems like, what are we going to do at that point? Like, that just, I don't know, man. That's strict, I guess. It's the point
strict.
here.
That's exactly what it is, right? He also stones a woman to death for alleged adultery. I'm pointing alleged here because, like, who knows what the standards of evidence back then were not high, right? And eventually he does a lot of shit like this, and Wahhab has to go on the run because people get angry at him for being a giant dick. And
for being
Muhammad
an asshole,
Saud, yeah, for being an asshole. And when he goes on the run, Muhammad ibn Saud takes him in, and he kind of welds his followers and this version of Orthodox Islam, which has it includes all of these strict returns to like old rules, but it also includes these new calls for Arab nationalism, right? Which is an increasingly popular idea in the area, right? At the time, Arabs are not governing themselves. They're under the rulership of a Turkish caliph in large part, right? We talk about this in the Lawrence of Arabia episodes. This is going to culminate in the early 1900s in the Arab Revolution. But this is kind of a lot of the origins of a lot of that stuff, right? Wahhab is preaching that like we should be independent. And Ibn Saud is like, okay, well, this guy just wants to be a religious figurehead, and he's willing to back my family as the ruling kings of an Arab kingdom, right? And that's what I want for my family. I don't want us to just be like local bigwigs. I want us to be the kings of the Arab world. In 1740...
Is Arab nationalism, I assume that it was very popular, right? Like that idea...
Not yet. It's starting to be because of Saud and Wahhab, right? It starts to be popular. It's going to be very popular in the 1900s, right? But in 1745, they're kind of ahead of the curve, right? Yeah. They're like the first punk bands.
Yeah, I just think about how a lot of bad ideas will be couched in, generally popular ideas, or the idea that this system isn't working, where it's like they're not wrong. It's like someone being like, hey, Twitter sucks. Let me buy Twitter. And then making Twitter even worse, where it's like, if you're exploiting like people's frustrations that are valid, you can sneak in all sorts of bullshit, I guess is my point. Is it like that?
It's kind of a symbol of how there's not enough just raw support for the idea of an independent Arab state. So Saud has to kind of grab this crazy dude and his followers who are angry about like women working and people playing music to be like, if they're angry about other things mostly, but they're willing to be angry about the thing I'm angry about, and if I get them on my back, they're crazy and they're willing to fight and die, right? So like it kind of makes sense to partner up with these insane motherfuckers. It's a lot. Again, this happens all the time, right? Like the religious right is largely a factor of like very rich people whose primary goal was to not be taxed and to not have their workers have rights, who are like, oh, these people are angry about like women wearing skirts and getting abortions. Well, if they're angry about taxes too, or if I can get them to oppose taxes too, then like, yeah, throw them on the bus, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how reactionary movements always work.
Yeah, it's just whoever's pissed off who can tolerate each other getting together
and likes to hurt people.
We can all,
Yeah. And that's, and again, there are some legitimate grievances here. Arabs are being persecuted by the Ottomans. But there's a lot of like, there's not enough persecution for there to be a large enough movement to cause a revolt on its own. So Saud has to find these maniacs and kind of get them on his side. So for about half a century, in 1745, they establish what is technically a country. It's really just like a city-state based around the city of Diriyah, which is today kind of like a suburb of Riyadh, right? Riyadh is the current capital of Saudi Arabia. So basically, that region, what is today the capital of Saudi Arabia, they have like a micro-state that is ruled by the Saud family and is a an independent Saudi state, right? That exists in 1745 for about 50 years, a little bit more than half a century, right? A little more than 50 years. So that's a pretty good job, right? Like they're able to kind of like make their own country for like 2 generations almost until in 1819. Yeah, pretty good. Better than I probably would have done if I'd tried to make a breakaway state.
Mine will be done in an afternoon. Like it won't even last a day.
Yeah. I really wish you'd been able to get hold of those nuclear missiles, Dave. But unfortunately, without them, you're unlikely to secede from the United States.
That's how they take you seriously.
Yeah, we all learned that lesson from North Korea. So for half a century or so, the Saud family rules their new country from Diriyah until in 1819, this kind of like the black and white teachings that Wahhabism are preaching leads to increasing conflicts with the Ottomans. The Al Saud rulers of the country run into a version of the same problem that afflicts any authoritarians who ally with crazy religious hardliners, which is that sooner or later, they're going to try to get you to do crazy stuff for them because they think that's what God wants, right? Like if you hitch yourself to these guys, they're going to make demands increasingly that you have to do some crazy stuff, right? Like you're on team crazy guys. You have to do some crazy shit, right?
That's what you signed up for.
Yeah. Don't you believe the crazy stuff?
Well, this is just paralleling because, obviously it's on my mind a lot. But today where it's like, it feels like a lot of the far right that you have the grifters and then you have the true believers, right? The people who are like, no, we're going to unmask the deep state and get all the pedophiles. And then the other people are like, no. This is like kind of a grift.
No, we are the deep state pedophiles. We just want money.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't understand. We're just trying not to pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
It's a weird mix.
In this case, the Wahhabists believed that God wanted them to occupy Mecca and Medina and to sack Karbala, which is a town in Iraq, and destroy a tomb for Muhammad's grandson, which, again, people were like going to pray, right, basically, right? This is the kind of thing the Ottomans were kind of fine with ignoring them while they were just running this backwater, but now they're trying to take the capital city of the faith and sack a random town and also take the second city of the faith. And that's just you're getting too busy, right? And you don't have the ability to actually,
It's like a cult, right? Is like, we all want to wear robes and like do drugs and hang out. And then they're like,
why not?
All right. Yeah. And then it's suddenly like, all right, everybody take a dagger and we're going to stab ourselves. And you're like, well, no, I don't want to do that.
Didn't you guys believe in the cult shit? Not that much.
Right. It was in the terms and agreements. Like, did you not read them? Like, this was where it was heading.
Yeah. So the Wahhabists accused the Ottoman governors of the state of not respecting Sharia law, which forbade idolatry, and the Ottomans don't react well to this. And unlike the Saudis, they have an army, like a big army, because they're an empire. They're not like a good empire, but they're bigger than this backwater little town. So the first Saudi state gets crushed by Ottoman arms. Their capital at Diriyah was destroyed, and the Saud in charge is taken to Constantinople, where his head gets cut off. His body is posed holding the severed head and displayed for 3 days before being thrown into the sea, which is, one way to handle an insurrection.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yeah, not in the long run. But, points for trying. If the Saud family was good at one thing, it was the fact that they were really good at making more of themselves, right? This continues to be a strength of this family to the modern day. Despite the Ottoman Empire's best efforts, a prince managed to get free of their dragnet and survived to rebuild the family movement. This guy was Turki bin Abdullah bin Mohammed al-Saud, and he fought against the Ottomans to defend Diriyah, escaping after his son and 2 of his brothers were killed. He spends 5 years in exile in the desert, rebuilding an army and gathering followers to his banner. Biographer Ibrahim al-Khamis says this about the man. Turki vowed to himself to stand firm in the face of enemies and to fight in battle even if alone, carrying his sword, al-Ajrib, which he referred to in his famous poem. If every friend forsakes their friend, I will carry al-Ajrib as a steadfast companion. Right? Basically, if I don't have any other friends, at least I've got my knife. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty badass, right? You can get a tattoo of that.
It's gangster, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, you said there's a lot of them. I started picturing the Scars guards. Like, is it like that, where if you strike down 2, there'll just be 3 more?
Comparison, yeah. Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right. And are they
that's
like charismatic like
about
that?
His family. Yes. They're charismatic like the Scars guards. One of them was in the series Andor, like the Scars guards. Yes, you can... Yeah, the Al Saud family's everywhere. The
prime one.
Yeah.
Got it.
So in 1824, this guy, Turki, the kind of like inheritor of the Al Saud family, establishes a second Saudi state, moving the capital to Riyadh proper and governing there for about 10 years. Near the end of 1834, while he's kind of consolidating his power, he's fighting a series of battles against his rivals, and he's got to fight the Ottomans, but a lot of his rivals are members of his own family, right? Because it's a big family, and they're not all in agreement about who should be in charge. And near the end of 1834, after about 10 years of governing this revitalized Saudi state, Turkey is ambushed while leaving his mosque and slain by 3 assassins who had been hired by his second cousin, Mishari bin Abdul Rahman, who tried to make himself the new imam. Turkey's son Faisal returned home immediately after this and put an end to the insurrection, although fighting would continue for another decade. This is going to be a common feature of the second Saudi state, right? Is that they're all fighting each other, right? That's kind of their biggest enemy. And honestly, even up to the modern day, the Saudi royal family spends a lot of time killing other members of the Saudi royal family. It's kind of one of their great pastimes.
Huh. Well, you got to have a pastime. I mean, that's the thing about power, right? Is like never enough, right? So like,
no,
it'll just keep whittling down more and more. So if there's a family in power, it's like, well, who in the family is in power? And then you have your own little power struggle within that family.
You never have enough power, but you can have too many cousins, right? Like that's kind of the rule.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have 8 uncles and aunts. So I have a lot of, just on one side. And we're always trying to kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God,
exactly.
Yeah. I got a couple of them. They keep coming at me, but I'm very careful.
Yeah, you have a lot of landmines in your yard. Speaking of killing your cousins, maybe our sponsors will help you do that. Or not, if you like them.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, pet accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabay, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
And we're back. So, Turkey alone creates about 4 branches of the Saudi royal family, just one of which, the Al Faisal, contains several thousand male descendants by the late 20th century. So that's like how prolific this family is this one guy, because of how many kids he has, creates 4 branches of the family that are like thousands of people strong today. This brings us to what will become a pattern within the House of Saud, which is the sheer number of these guys causes a constant problem with political turnover, as there are always more princes and other royals who hate each other and think they really ought to be the branch of the family that's in charge. The second Saudi state ultimately collapses in 1891 as a civil war within the house leads to their defeat by the Al-Rashid tribe and the destruction of the country. For more than a decade, the Al Saud family struggles to regain their lost glory. Many of them, like Abdul Aziz Al Saud, grandfather of Mohammed bin Salman, the guy we're talking about in these episodes, went into exile in places like Kuwait. Abdul Aziz is probably the most significant member of the House of Saud, right? He is the guy who establishes the modern Saudi state. Like I said, he goes into exile in Kuwait and he returns to Arabia in 1902 with an army, right? He spent his time gathering power. He gets a bunch of desert warriors to his banner, and he shows up in the early 1900s intent on reestablishing the Saudi state for a third time. He carries out a daring early morning assault on a fort near Riyadh called Mazmak. They take the fort, kill the governor, who was a member of the hated Al-Rashid tribe, and they retake Riyadh. In her book, The Man Who Would Be King, Karen House writes, quote, "Once again, he used religion just as his ancestors had to help the Al Saud reconquer Arabia. He convinced the Bedouin to congregate in agricultural villages and adopt a sedentary life focused on puritanical Islam, promoted by Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab. The Imam taught that belonging to the Ummah, or a community of believers, took precedence over other social bonds, including tribe. Anyone who made a judgment based on anything other than the Quran was a non-believer. Still, it took Abdulaziz over 30 years to subdue and unite warring tribes under his rule. In 1932, he announced the creation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia." Now, this is a very short summary of a lot of complex history, but it gets across the key bullet points that are going to be important for our purposes. The House of Saud spends about 300 years viewing the Arabian Peninsula as theirs, and they repeatedly try to make that so. They create a series of states, which often fail due to infighting until they succeed, and they are always backed in power by an alliance with religious hardliners, generally today called Wahhabists, who help them secure their power. And the main threat to said power over the years has been their inability to stop killing each other, right? These are all traits of the Saudi state up till the present day. The other key point here is that Saudi kings and princes have varied wildly in their competency and efficacy. Abdulaziz is very good. He's probably the best Saudi king in terms of his actual level of competency. He is the really, really on-the-ball leader who establishes the state. When he takes power in 1932, Saudi Arabia is a poor country, and most of its citizens live lives that are barely changed from the way Bedouins had been living for hundreds of years. The government maintained what control it could by doling out government salaries and bribes to tribal leaders to keep them loyal. This tapped the state treasury almost to the breaking point. Abdulaziz was able to put through some minor infrastructure improvements, but his only real sources of state income in the early period for the state are money that comes from pilgrims visiting Mecca for the Hajj and the Zakat, which is a tax paid by non-Muslims who live in the country. Britain also provided a stipend because of their role in helping to establish the Saudi state, so long as Abdulaziz could be relied upon to use his forces to crush fundamentalists who tried to launch insurrections in the places like Iraq, which were still controlled by the British Empire. By the late 1930s, this whole house of cards is in danger of collapse. Abdulaziz has done kind of the impossible, but he's had to make a lot of compromises in order to do it. He's had to kind of throw a lot of his hardline followers onto the bus by allowing unbelievers to control chunks of the Muslim world, including Iraq. And there's not really any money in the Saudi state yet because oil isn't worth much, and they don't know that Saudi Arabia has it at the moment. It's a mark of his desperation that Abdulaziz sells Standard Oil of California a concession to drill in his country for just 50,000 pounds. When his finance minister balks, Abdulaziz tells him, "Put your faith in God and sign." And that works out. That winds up being a really fucking good bet. Yeah.
This is like 90s Marvel, where they're like, we don't know what we have yet. We're just selling it off to whoever.
We'll give you $20 for this Iron Man character. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's tourism? Did I hear that correctly?
No. It's drilling. It's drilling.
Well, there's also religious people coming there.
Oh, yeah. To Mecca and Medina, right? Like, because you have Muslims are supposed to, if they can, go to Mecca, right? To do the Hajj at least once in their lives. And that brings in some money to the state. But you only get so much money from that. Yeah.
It's not Florida. It's not Florida where they're like, all right, we got this one thing going on for us. That's just a little side hustle.
It's a little side. It's not the kind of side hustle that having most of the world's oil is, right? Which is going to be kind of where their big hustle. Yeah.
If I could choose between one or the other, I guess I would go for the world's oil.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
That's going to work out for them. Per the book MBS by Ben Hubbard, quote, the discovery of oil in 1938 attracted speculators, technicians, oil companies, and representatives of Western governments seeking access to the kingdom's black gold, including the United States. In a secret meeting in 1945 between President Franklin D. Roosevelt and King Abdulaziz aboard an American warship in the Suez Canal, the two leaders hit it off, laying the groundwork for a lasting agreement that guaranteed American access to Saudi oil in exchange for American protection from foreign attacks. Now, this is
funny how leaders always hit it off.
They sure seem to, right? Wow, the rich guy in charge of this country likes this other rich guy, huh?
Yeah, you like money and power, and they're like, yeah, me too. It's like, cool.
You were born into money. Me too. Yeah. And it kind of starts with FDR, the very close relationship to this day that Saudi Arabia and the United States enjoy, like, starts here. And from this point forward, money begins flowing into the peninsula in its millions, in its tens of millions, and eventually tens of billions. At the start of the Third Saudi state, King Abdulaziz had agreed to curb the spread of fundamentalist Islam to maintain the favor of European colonizing powers. But now Saudi Arabia has money, and the Saudi royal family starts investing piles of it into spreading Wahhabist teachings around the world. Saudi Aramco, soon the world's most valuable company by a mile, this isn't the case today, but it is going to be the case for quite a while, allows the royal family to accumulate vast fortunes. This helps fund the further expansion of the family. King Abdulaziz married some 18 women and fathered more than 60 children. The next generation of his family would be freed from the material concerns that had dominated their forebears' lives. Oil money provided stipends to the many hundreds of royal children, right? This is like how Saudi royals live from now on. There's money coming into the state, and a big chunk of it gets earmarked for the members of the House of Saud, right? Vast fortunes of what should have been state funds start disappearing into the pockets of different royal family members as grift and graft become an increasingly accepted pastime. Large numbers of Saudi men, even outside of the family, are given government jobs that are themselves basically bribes to keep anyone from complaining about the endemic corruption, right? So the Saudi royal family are all living luxurious lives for doing nothing, or at least lots of the Saudi royal family are. And regular Saudis get jobs that they basically have to do almost nothing, right? In order to get enough money to live. Yeah.
That's the thing about, like, corruption or trying to run it. Like, you have to make enough people happy, right? And otherwise it's just not going to last. So at some point, enough people who matter, I guess, to staying in power have to be happy with it.
Yeah. And the first group that the family is concerned with is the other members of the family, right? The princes lower down the line these are the guys who, if they were uncomfortable and they had to struggle, might become rivals for power, right? So part of why you make sure they all get something is that then none of them want to rock the boat, which has been a continuing problem in the family. Ben Hubbard describes the state of the Saudi royal family's basic welfare fund. Quote, there were thousands of them, all subsidized by the Saudi state. In 1996, an American diplomat visited the office that distributed their monthly stipends and found a stream of servants picking up their master's allowances, which varied based on their status. The sons and daughters of King Abdulaziz received $270,000, his grandchildren up to $27,000, and his great-grandchildren $13,000. The most distant relatives got $800. Princes also got million-dollar bonuses to build their palaces when they got married, as well as perks for having children. The diplomat estimated estimated that the stipends cost the state more than $2 billion per year, but that was merely a guess. Much of that money trickled into society to earn the royals the loyalty of the population. One of Salman's sons said he spent more than $1 million of his own money during the holy month of Ramadan, hosting feasts for his subjects, but the royals still had large commanding fleets of yachts, building palaces from Los Angeles to Monaco, and taking foreign vacations so lavish that they caused economic booms in the communities where they landed. So they're doing pretty good, even though about 40% of the country lives in poverty and about 40% of the Saudi youth are unemployed, right? All of these princes are fairly comfortable.
Right. Again, enough people. Just enough.
Enough people. And one of the things that's remarkable at the Saudi state is how few Saudis actually have to work, right? The majority of jobs in the country are done by foreign workers who are brought in, and often some of them are very close. It's a mix. You have some of them are like Western workers who are paid pretty well by like Saudi Aramco, but the largest number of them are very close to slaves. And 90% of the private sector labor force is foreign born in Saudi Arabia by the 21st century, which is crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's like an unsustainable situation unless you've got all of this oil money sloshing in. The royal family increasingly starts to exist as a subculture within broader Saudi society. The constant infighting and sometimes deadly conflicts mean that the vast majority of royals know they're in potential danger anytime they attend a family gathering. It becomes the norm for everyone to memorize each other's birthdays so that they would all know at a glance who in the room was most senior and thus who they had to show deference to, right? Like you have to always be careful to make sure that you're not seen as like looking to get one up on your betters, because that could be dangerous to you.
Right. See, that's what the Skarsgårds don't have to worry about because they know who's in charge at any given point. Like that's
definitely not Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's not too many of them. That's part of the secret too, I feel like.
Yeah, Stellan, unlike the King Salman, Stellan does not keep a prison for members of his family who displease him, right?
Well, we don't know that
so
for
far
sure,
as we're
Robert.
aware of, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. There's a couple Skarsgårds unaccounted for, as far as I'm concerned. King Abdulaziz establishes another key precedent for the House of Saud, taking bloody vengeance upon their enemies. Early in his reign, several of the king's cousins put together an army to threaten Riyadh as part of a play to shift power to a different branch of the family. Abdulaziz smashes the army rather than negotiate, and his brutality convinces the village of Layla, where a lot of these guys had been based, to surrender, and the king condemns 19 leaders of the rebellion to death. He immediately issues a 24-hour stay of execution, not as an act of mercy, but so his men can erect a gallows at the entrance of the town and kill them all publicly. By dawn the next day, he has the rebels beheaded in pairs, each person killed by a black enslaved man with a sword. After the first 18 have been killed, the king pardons the 19th man and orders him to go tell his friends and family members about the justice and vengeance of King Abdulaziz, right? Yeah, go tell everybody, I could have killed you, but I didn't.
Well, hold on. You're saying he made a public execution?
Yeah.
And then he saved the last person who was like, go tell people what happened here. I wouldn't say anything, but at the time I'd be thinking I think they'll know it's public, but obviously I'm not going to argue.
Right?
I'm not going to argue. I'll be like, I'll totally tell everybody about this.
Sure, man.
But still,
absolutely.
Seems redundant. It just seems redundant. I think you could have killed that guy and his family would have known, but it's fine.
I'm not going to backseat execute for this king, but yeah. Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud was born into this increasingly weird and isolated world in 1935. This is Mohammed bin Salman, the subject of our episode's dad, right? So he comes into the world in 1935, which is about 10 years before the oil deal with FDR. His early years are spent living the traditional way. He's born before oil money becomes a thing in Saudi Arabia. He's living in tents in the desert several months out of the year, and he comes of age just as the House of Saud is flooded with oil money for the very first time. King Abdulaziz passes on in 1953, leaving a wealthy and powerful state after being born into exile. But because he had grown up conscious of the fact that the internal struggle for power had shattered their last state, on his deathbed, Abdulaziz begs his oldest sons, Saud and Faisal, to join hands and swear to work together. And they totally swear to do that. And then as soon as he dies, they start fighting with each other, right? They're like, yeah, Dad, we totally aren't going to fight over the throne. Is he cold? All right, let's get at it.
Let's get the weapons out.
Yeah.
I'd create an arena. Like, I would make it official, right?
Yeah, a knife fight right in the fucking hospital chamber.
Oh, yeah.
King Saud rules for 11 years, and he is not good at it. He is so corrupt that he has completely bankrupted the kingdom after a little over a decade. His younger brothers, headed by Faisal, have to ally to force him to go to exile in Greece, at which point Faisal takes over. Faisal is going to prove to be a much better king. He's one of the most successful Saudi monarchs, and in the 1970s, he embarks on an ambitious campaign to modernize the country and pull power away from the clerics. For a brief moment, it seems as if the kingdom is bending to secular modernity, and it becomes increasingly normal to see women with their heads uncovered socializing with men who aren't relatives. Televisions proliferate, and alcohol is common at parties hosted by members of the royal family, right? At least the leaders of the Saudi royal family are increasingly like modern, and a lot of the religious hardliners seem to be losing power in the country. Faisal's chief innovation is splitting control of the military between 3 different princes in order to reduce the odds of a successful coup, right? You kind of make sure no one has all of the military in their hands and just trust that no group of 3 Saudi princes will ever trust each other enough to work together.
Yeah. It's very funny listening to this because it's like, it seems like all governments sort of naturally settle into a certain way, right? Where it's like, okay, we need to cool it with the religious stuff. We need to allow people to just do whatever they want. Oh, we need to spread out power. So it's not just like one person can make this decision. Like, it's not 1-to-1, but it's just funny hearing this of like, yeah, this is, if you want to be in charge for a long amount of time in a functional way without everybody killing each other, it all kind of goes in this direction, it feels like.
Yeah.
To work.
Yep. In 1975, King Faisal is assassinated by his nephew in an act of vengeance for his brother, who had been executed by Faisal for protesting the king's decision to allow television in Saudi Arabia. So there's always backlashes to the modernizing, right?
Oh, man.
Like
dying for television, to stop television.
1975 TV. There's not even anything good on.
I kind of get it, but you could, if you told this person, like, don't worry, once the internet shows up, no one's going to give a shit about television.
Yeah, I don't think Cheers is even on the air yet, man.
Right.
Man, what were you fighting for?
God.
While all this is going on, Prince Salman, MBS's father and the current king, is keeping his head down and avoiding making himself a target. He'd been born the 25th of Abdulaziz's 36 sons, and on paper, again, the 25th son of the now dead king shouldn't get anywhere close to the throne, right? Like, you've got a lot of guys have to die for that to ever become your job, and he's not going to become the king until like 2015. But he is distinguished from the start from a lot of his brothers and half-brothers by the fact that he is willing to actually work. Like, he's not scared of actually doing a real job, which gets him promoted.
Like, they're Nepo babies, but he's like Jack Quaid. Where it's where like, yeah, you're a Nepo baby, but you're fine. It's cool.
I'd say he's the Nicolas Cage of King Abdulaziz's sons, right? Where he's like, he's definitely like, he gets a head up because of who he is, but he's also in Face Off, you know? Yeah. A lot of people don't know that about the current king of Saudi Arabia, that he was in the movie Face Off, but he was.
Good for him.
It's not impossible. You can't prove he wasn't. So when this guy's half brothers and brothers, they're all fighting throughout this period of time for the choicest positions, from which they can largely just shunt oil money into their own pockets while not doing anything. Prince Salman actually works, and he focuses on building a base of support. He sits down with citizens who need his royal help, and he makes deals with business interests in his area who provide him with support throughout his life. And he gets invited by influential clerics to his court to discuss like religious things and whatnot. You know, he's kind of making himself well known with the thinkers and doers in Saudi society. He develops a reputation for seriousness and a relative lack of corruption, which is not to say he's not corrupt, but he's not like primarily motivated by money. In fact, he's poor by the standards of the Saudi royal family. He's not a poor man, but he's not like just in it to suck cash out of the family oil money. He's doing stuff.
Right. The bar is low.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Nicolas Cage was poor after he had to give all that money back to Mongolia for buying dinosaur bones illegally.
Exactly. Where you're like, he's poor, but like, he's Nicolas Cage poor.
He's just got to do a couple more face-offs, you know, and then he's going to be fine. Now, some of the fact that he like has financial issues has to do with the fact that he has a lot of kids, like his dad, although not a crazy amount of kids, but he's still pretty kid-having. His first wife, Sultana, gives him 5 sons and 1 daughter. Now, because their branch of the family can't count on a vast fortune of grafted oil money, Prince Salman raises his sons to be hard workers who, in a reversal from the norm for scions of the royal family, actually grow up knowing how to do stuff. His oldest son, Fahd, went to school in the West and developed a deep understanding of how to communicate with Americans and Europeans. His second son, Sultan, joined the Saudi Air Force and became the first Muslim in space as an astronaut on the Shuttle Discovery in 1985. His third son, Ahmed, studied mining in Colorado and graduated from Wentworth Military Academy and then enlisted in the Saudi Air Force. His fourth son, Abdulaziz, went to work in the oil industry and became an expert on modernizing Saudi energy extraction methods. While his kids work diligently, the kingdom struggles. In 1979, the country, still reeling from Faisal's assassination, endures another shock. On November 20th, 1979, 50,000 worshippers crowded into the Grand Mosque in Mecca. As the imam finishes giving his blessings, hundreds of armed men begin rushing forward, firing into the air and forcing people away from the doors. A gang of militants grabbed the imam's microphone and held a dagger to his neck. All 51 doors to the mosque are chained shut. Thousands of people are taken prisoner. Now, the guy responsible for this massive act of terrorism is Johaimon al-Oitabi, an anti-monarchy Islamist insurgent who had put together a small army of around 600 rebels. He and his followers hated the House of Saud for allying with Christian infidels in order to make their fortunes, and accused the royal family of betraying Islam. Al-Otaibi and his followers also believed that one of the group's leaders, Muhammad Abdullah al-Qahtani, was the Mahdi. For the sake of brevity, it's enough to know that the Mahdi is basically Islam's equivalent of the Second Coming. He's a messianic figure whose arrival heralds the end of days. So, these guys have now taken the Holy Mosque, and Saudi soldiers spend days trying to retake it. But the rebels have a commanding position, and they massacre anyone who comes close. The Saudi government has to reach out to France and get the help of an elite unit of commandos. And I'm going to quote next from Lawrence Wright's book, The Looming Tower. Because of the prohibition against non-Muslims entering the holy city, they converted to Islam in a brief formal ceremony, these French commandos. The commandos pumped gas into underground chambers, but perhaps because the rooms were so bafflingly interconnected, the gas failed and the resistance continued. With casualties climbing, Saudi forces drilled holes into the courtyard and dropped grenades into the rooms below, indiscriminately killing many hostages, but driving the remaining rebels into more open areas where they could be picked off by sharpshooters.
That is so messy.
It's such
so
a messy,
many different ways.
Yeah. Like, first off, is it not worse to fake that they're Muslim now? Like, is that not worse?
Any mission that starts with, okay, we're going to need you to pretend to convert to Islam, I would be like, all right, let's take a step back here. Let's look at the bigger plan first.
Did none of these French commandos go like, sir?
Yeah.
What?
They're like, it's fine. You can lie.
It's fine to lie. It's apparently fine to lie.
Yeah. We don't care.
Also, the whole gas didn't work. We dropped grenades indiscriminately into the mosque.
Right.
Oh, God.
That's where they're like, what's the point in converting to then drop grenade? Like, how is
Allah not angry at this?
Like, what rule book are they going by? Like, I'm trying to think of
baffling.
like the afterlife of like, who is checking things off of like, is it the Air Bud idea where they're like, well, there's no rule that says they can't do this according to our rules. You did it.
I would imagine you just an imam with like 40 cigarettes in his mouth reading the rule. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It takes 2 bloody weeks. It's nuts stuff. It takes 2 bloody weeks for the rebels to surrender. The so-called Mahdi is killed during the fighting, while Al-Otaibi and nearly 70 of his followers are captured alive. In total, about 1,000 people died during the fighting, a mix of soldiers, civilian worshippers, and insurgents. 63 militants are ultimately beheaded for their parts in the attack. The fallout from all of this is substantial, as Karen House writes in The Man Who Would Be King. Saudi religious clerics actually felt sympathy for the militants occupying the mosque. The imam's sermon that very morning lamented the kingdom's moral decay, and the revolt's leader had studied with the imam he now held captive. His goal was to end what he saw as the Al Saud's tolerance of infidel innovations like women working and mixing with women, or the government's tolerance of Shias, a sect of Islam that he and his fanatics saw as heretics, not Muslims. The Wahhabist clerics, they find themselves in a tough position after this, right? Their power is tied to the House of Saud, who's just made kind of the biggest compromise with hardline Islam imaginable. You know, like it's pretty tough to top that.
Yeah.
So this is rough. The most prominent of these clerics issue a fatwa, which doubles down on the legitimacy of the House of Saud, but demands that the current rulers of the kingdom stop flouting the rules. As Karen House writes of what would come in the future, no more movies, no more alcohol, no more women on television, no more gender mixing anywhere, no more soccer to distract youth from studying Allah's holy Quran. Almost overnight, everything changed in Saudi Arabia. During my first visit in 1978, I attended a dinner at Oil Minister Ahmed Zaki Yamani's house in Jeddah, where men and women mixed. Alcohol was plentiful, and after dinner, the minister and his guests watched a table feed of the 1978 World Cup soccer final between Argentina and the Netherlands, just the sort of evening deplored by religious clerics.
So no more fun.
No more fun is going to be the rule in Saudi Arabia after this point, but there's also going to be no more fun for a minute here, because we're going to have our second ad break.
Ads are fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
And we're back. How you feeling about Saudi Arabia, Dave? It's going good?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm an expert on this, so everything you're telling me are things I already knew.
Yeah.
I'm humoring you, you know? It's like when you talk to a kid about Star Wars, you know, and the kid's discovering things and you're like, yeah.
I'm just imagining
just
now
like
in
that.
like in the international like anti-terrorist commando handbook, they're like that one character in The Mummy where they just have a bunch of different religious symbols on necklaces. They're like, okay, which country am I going into? All right, this is the religion I am for the time being.
Yeah. It's tough, man. When you inject money into any situation, everybody in that situation loses their goddamn minds.
Yeah. That's the one constant rule of the world is that as soon as people get access to billions of dollars in oil money, they go fucking crazy.
They lose their minds.
A lot of why Saudi Arabia is so fucked up in like the religious ways that it is and has been for most of the modern era comes down to the fact that they were following a pretty natural path of people being like, I don't know, we're rich now. Do we need to abide by all of these crazy religious strictures? Like, we're okay being Muslim, but we don't have to be such hardliners about all of the batshit stuff. And then there's this hideous terrorist attack, and the government responds in like the worst way they possibly could.
They're like,
and that
terrorism wins.
Yeah. So many people are like, okay, but we're going to become assholes again. Don't worry. We did drop grenades in the mosque.
Yeah.
We understand that's a problem. But women will no longer get to be on television. Are you cool with us now? Can we keep being rich? Yeah. And it turns out, yeah.
It just, I don't know. It's that battle between, like, I get the idea of having a set of beliefs. Not necessarily these beliefs, but beliefs that you're like, you stand by and you have certain rules in your life. When you try to apply that to a country, it always gets messy where it's like, no, I need everybody be doing this stuff. Meanwhile, the country's like, we just want to have like good relations with our neighbors and prosper and make money, or make a stupid amount of money in this case. And it's just like, it's just not going to work. All these factors are not going to work. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to work because of the amount of money behind them. It's going to work longer than it probably should have, right?
That's true. It's like going to like Prince's house, where you're like, he has enough money that you can. He also can have like weird rules at his house, right?
Yeah,
and everybody's just going to go like, all right, fine.
Yeah, sure, Prince. I mean, I get to hang out at your house, so that seems cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a case where, like, okay, so you had French commandos fake being Muslim and then drop grenades in the holiest mosque, and the consequence of this is women don't get to be on TV anymore, huh? Okay. Yeah, that seems like you're really hitting the main problem. Okay. So for the next 20 years and change after this point, fundamentalist Islam becomes more and more entrenched in Saudi Arabia, as does the power of the religious police to punish men and women who violated even the smallest rules. Karen notes that before 1979, it had been acceptable for foreign women especially to go about their business without their heads covered. This becomes impossible by the start of the 1980s. As the clerics crack down, the House of Saud goes through a spate of particularly weak and incompetent kings. King Faisal is followed by King Khalid, who wanted the job so little that he hands power right away to his son, the Crown Prince, who succeeds him in 1982. This guy, King Fahd, was more interested in chilling on his yacht than governing, and he half-asses the job himself until he has a stroke in 1995. It was into this Saudi Arabia, saddled with a series of basket case kings and riven with financial corruption, straining under the weight of increasingly radical and restrictive religious laws, that the subject of our episodes for this week and next week, Mohammed bin Salman, is born on August 31st, 1985. And we will talk about his life and how he comes to power in the subsequent episodes. But Dave, this has been part one. You're introduced.
Sorry, I didn't realize I'm older than him. That bums me
you
out.
are. That is
bums
a
me right
bummer.
out.
He's a little older than me, but not much.
Yeah, he can have us killed today, and he's younger. He's
had a lot of people killed. He's had a lot of people killed, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I could take him in a straight fight, but yeah, he does have planes and stuff, and I don't have planes.
Right, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
It's like learning that Finn Wolfhard was born after 9/11, where it's just like, man, I haven't done shit with my life.
Yeah. Well, it's also, if we'd had a Finn Wolfhard in 2001, they never would have tried to take those towers. There would have been too high a chance that a Finn Wolfhard might have been on the planes, you know?
He's too precious. Yeah.
Yeah, he's too... They wouldn't. See, I was going. They'd be scared of his name. With you were like, no, they wouldn't want to risk Finn Wolfhard.
No, his name is Finn Wolfhard.
They wouldn't take that danger.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what were you saying? Something about a podcast?
Where can people find you on the interweb.com?
I can be reached at so just Google Gamefully Unemployed. GAMEFULLY Unemployed. Like Robert, like you said, it's a movie podcast. It's just bitching about movies. Very low stakes, but fun. And then, we have like our Patreon where we have a bunch of extra stuff. We've made like 2,000 podcasts. It's too many. But you can find that. I'm the head writer at Some More News. Again, Google Some More News. Completely different vibe than the movie podcast thing. So if you like politics and like doom, or you like people complaining about Marvel movies, I got you covered for those two things. So check that out.
Excellent. Well, everybody, this has been Behind the Bastards. We will be back in due time, but until we're back, think about us every waking second. Don't think about driving. Close your eyes if you're driving right now, you know?
Yeah,
Get
just
on the
drift
road,
off.
close your eyes, drift off, fall asleep, you know?
Yep. Let instinct guide you.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Bye.
Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Bastards is now available on YouTube. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday. Subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/@BehindTheBastards.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabe Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabe brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabe is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no-risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off, plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Discover a spectacular island destination with crystal blue seas, endless sunshine, and the cool Bahamian breeze. Baha Mar, located in Nassau, Bahamas, offers your choice of 3 luxury hotels: the richly refined Rosewood, the playfully hip SLS, and the stylishly modern Grand Hyatt. With over 45 restaurants, bars, and lounges, Baha Mar serves up delicious dining from world-renowned chefs like Daniel Boulud and Marcus Samuelson. Nightlife venues like the new John Batiste Jazz Club, and the Caribbean's most luxurious casino. At Baha Mar, you'll find every pleasure under the sun and one-of-a-kind experiences for the entire family, like Baha Bay, our 15-acre lush tropical water park, interactive wildlife experiences, including our daily flamingo parade, world-class golf, tennis, spa, and so much more. Visit bahamar.com today and discover a vacation destination where memories are made for a lifetime. Baha Mar, life spectacular.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Business software is expensive, and when you buy software from lots of different companies, it's not only expensive, it gets confusing, slow to use, hard to integrate. Odoo solves that because all Odoo software is connected on a single affordable platform. Save money without missing out on the features you need. Odoo has no hidden costs and no limit on features or data. Odoo has over 60 apps available for any needs your business might have, all at no additional charge. Everything from websites to sales to inventory to accounting, all linked and talking to each other. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.